And now, you're tuned in to RBLR, the home of Tampa Bay's Reveler Sports.
Welcome in to RBLR Sports. My name is Musaab, and it's safe to say that this has been one roller coaster of an offseason. From head coach news to April Fool's jokes around the league to some key signings, it's never a dull day when you're a Buc fan. All right, especially after someone like Brady who decided to come back. Am I right? All right, for the hundreds waiting for this episode to drop, for the thousands online, and for the millions on shop.rblrsports.com, Buck fans, let's get ready to talk some football. And I am accompanied by the legendary, rocking the We Run the South tank top, flexing them guns, or shall I say cannons. Ladies and gentlemen, RBLR Nation, Carter. How we doing tonight?
I think you might be being a little generous by calling them cannons, but I appreciate the compliment nonetheless. I'm feeling good, man. You know, it's been a roller coaster to say the least for sure this off season, and this week's definitely been no different. You know, the Bruce Arians thing definitely throwing us for a loop, but we'll get into all of that. I'm really excited to talk some football for sure.
I'm right there with you. Seriously, it's every single week, even every single day. There's always something going on, and I just love that. There's so much to kind of just catch up on and everything. So, listeners, if you're with us right now, and if you appreciate us as much as we appreciate you, if you could do us a favor and real quick, however you're listening to this, whether it be YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and if you could do us a favor, there's probably a follow button, a like button, or a subscribe button down there, and it would seriously mean a lot here to us here at RBLR. But hey, also, we are on social media platforms at rblrsports.com. All right. Well, where shall we begin, Carter? Let's just kind of start with the big overall news. We can kind of just follow up on the big head coach news with Todd Bowles taking over. Well, now we have co-defensive coordinators. First one being Mr. Larry Foote, and then the other one, Casey Rogers. Larry Foote was the inside linebacker coach, and defensive line coach was Casey Rogers. So they're going to split up the defensive coordinator duties, and I want to see where your head's at with that, Carter.
Yeah, it's definitely interesting. Co-defensive coordinators may sound like, it makes me think of The Office. Like I don't know how far for our listeners are huge Office people, but when they have Jim Halpert and Michael Scott both as the co-managers of The Office, and it's just I don't know how it's going to work. Obviously, Larry Foote and Casey Rogers are both incredibly familiar with Todd Bowles, the Bucs' new head coach, and his defensive schemes. Casey Rogers served as defensive coordinator during their time in New York with the Jets when Todd Bowles was the head guy there. Larry Foote worked with Mr. Bowles in Arizona when they were both on Mr. Arians' staff, the former head coach of the Bucs. So, there's a bit of familiarity there. There's also familiarity with the team. It's just more, just more of the same, which I think is perfect for this team right now. They're not trying to reinvent the wheel. They're not trying to, start something new. They're not in the rebuilding phase. They're still trying to win a Super Bowl. So what better way to do that than to promote within? And I'm pretty excited about these two hires for sure, or promotions, I should say.
Yeah, I'm right there with you, and it just makes me wonder. I guess with all this familiarity and I don't know, what's your impression, Carter? Like, you think Todd Bowles is gonna kind of allow them to have a little bit more say? Obviously they're gonna have some say. Of course, they're defensive coordinators, but you know what I'm saying. They kind of can, not overpower him, but say, hey, let's here are my ideas. I think these are really good, et cetera, et cetera.
Right.
Or do you think he's still going to at least maybe slowly let him kind of ease into more responsibility? Do you kind of get what I'm saying? I mean, listen, he's going to be head coach, but my impression is just that, he's still kind of going to want to prioritize focusing more on the defensive side. But
sure.
I don't know. Do you think differently?
No, I'm pretty much with you. I think one thing that Bruce Arians was always amazing at was delegating. I think he built a tremendous staff, and he knew when to get his hands off the wheel, and I think Todd Bowles learned a lot from that. I think he's going to see how well that worked and say, maybe it's time to just do more of that. I think especially with the offense, I mean, Byron Leftwich, and when you have Tom Brady, of course, I'm still absolutely amazed at how Byron Leftwich is still our offensive coordinator. Not in that he should not the exact opposite of he should be fired. Like I'm surprised he hasn't gotten a head coaching job. It's truly a shame that he has not gotten a head coaching job. But I digress. The Todd Bowles thing, it's going to be great. I think it's perfect fit, and yeah, I mean it's really exciting. I think he's definitely going to try to, like I said, delegate a lot with the defense. I think the familiarity helps with that because I think they have an established relationship. So I think him, Casey, and Larry Foote can do a great job of kind of bouncing ideas off of each other and not having too many chefs in the kitchen, knowing when to step back and knowing when to maybe take more of a hands-on approach. So yeah, I think it's a great fit for sure.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. I think it's just the fact that we have like kind of three guys who've already been working together.
Mhm.
I just don't think anything's really gonna be changing too much in a way, in a coaching sense. It's not gonna be like, oh my God, Larry Foote and Casey Rogers have changed the whole defensive.
Right.
It's gonna be more like, yeah, we're gonna include Todd Bowles, of course, as well. It's all their defenses. So that's kind of just the way I see it. But I will have to say, once I kind of find out who the co-defensive coordinators were going to be, I was like, okay, I don't know too much about these guys, so I looked them up, and I came to find out, actually, I don't know if you knew, but Casey Rogers was defensive line coach of the year in 2020.
Wow, I did not know that. That's
Yeah,
awesome.
so I don't know. I mean, that kind of just makes me think, all right, well, the guy's good. He knows how
Oh
to
yeah.
do his job as well. I mean, he's defensive line coach of the year, so. That's kind of cool, and I mean, I guess listen, we're looking into this draft as well. Defensive line is definitely into the equation, so it's kind of cool thinking, all right, well, hey, listen, this guy got a little promotion. Maybe he might have some ideas that could, I don't know, pay off. Maybe Todd Bowles is thinking one thing, but hey, now that he's head coach, he has some other responsibilities. Perhaps he could let people like Larry Foote and Casey Rogers definitely have a lot more of a say now because the defensive coordinator. So I just thought that was rather interesting. And I mean, with Byron Leftwich, it just comes down for me just experience. I think Bruce Arians is kind of more depending on, someone who has previous head coaching experience, and that's Todd Bowles. But hey, that's kind of just all really what I had. Carter, do you have anything else to add overall?
No,
I
yeah.
mean, I'm just happy. I'm like, all right, sweet. just familiarity is kind of, couldn't put it better than that, Carter. So
Oh yeah.
uh, now I kind of want to go on to some player moves. We've done some coach talk, so time to talk about the players. First thing is Giovanni Bernard is back. Uh, Overall thoughts on that, Carter? What do you think?
Yeah, I mean it's interesting. I thought the Gio Bernard signing last year was a perfect fit, and he certainly had his moments. He dealt with a few injuries here and there, as does every NFL player. But yeah, I mean I'm pretty excited. It's good to have him back for sure. He's definitely a good weapon in the passing game. Um, just kind of I don't want to say an insurance policy, but knock on wood, God forbid Leonard Fournette goes down or maybe he misses some time, then Gio's a great, great guy to step in and fill that pass catching role. Because Leonard Fournette's a 3-down back right now for the Bucs, so he's going to play a lot, and rightfully so. So it's good to have a guy like Gio and just bring some veteran leadership to that running back room, especially if they draft a running back in this upcoming draft, which I think they will, to give themselves a fourth back. After losing Rojo to the Chiefs. So, yeah, just a solid re-signing for sure.
I mean, I just kind of see it as more that he's given another kind of chance, just because you would think that given Brady's past experience with people like White or like
Mm-hmm.
Lewis
Yeah.
back with the Patriots, I was like, all right, well, I was expecting Bernard to be used a lot more, but he was hurt a lot too, so that kind of just scratches my head, saying, all right, that kind of makes sense. I do got to say though, I mean, I do remember some crucial kind of moments during that last game against the Rams where I was like, oof, that didn't go as expected. But that was just kind of just something I remember when I got the news. But other than that, though, I think it's just as you said, insurance policy. weren't really able to see it that much this past season. So I think we're giving it another go. I think it's a safe choice indeed. And again, his experience also is valuable. So I think, yeah, we can possibly do make some other moves. And as well, we got Keyshawn Vaughn. Perhaps maybe this is his year as well.
Oh, yeah.
Maybe it's just going to be that little trio right there. Perhaps I don't know, just pick up some, fourth string. I don't know, whatever you want to call that. Some guy
Right.
who's barely going to get any playing time, but maybe it's just going to be the Fournette, Bernard and Keyshawn Vaughn show. Obviously, with Fournette taking the majority of the duty, and then using Vaughn and Bernard as weapons. I don't know. Do you see it in a different way, Carter?
Yeah, I mean, they could certainly run a three running back system. I know last year they obviously had four with Rojo in the wings. I kind of like, whenever I play Madden, I always have four running backs on my roster. But I don't know. I think they could maybe get an undrafted free agent running back, or maybe spend one of their seventh rounders on a running back. Or then maybe they sign someone, who knows. But yeah, I mean, they could certainly run just Vaughn, Bernard, and Fournette, and that would be more than enough, I think, production wise. They're all three very capable. So yeah, I mean, they could really go either way. They have options, which is always a good thing.
Yeah, I think it's just the idea of familiarity. I'm happy it made sense to me, and again, more than anything, I think he just needs to be given a little bit more opportunities as well. I don't
Yeah.
know. This past season, the way I see Carter was rather just odd. We had a lot of people in and out from all positions. So that kind of just made me raise my eyebrows a little bit throughout the whole season. That, oh, yikes, here and there. I was saying that week by week. But hey, you're talking about signing, and kind of fresh off the press, and that is we picked up Keanu Neil. He's with us now. And in the past he's had the safety role and the linebacker role, but based on the updates that I've just received, kind of just from Twitter and some of these kind of big reporters, it's the impression is that it's probably going to be he's going to be back on safety. But I don't know, Carter, have you heard something else? But also, Carter, what do you think about this? Because beforehand, I didn't know too much about Keanu Neal. I do remember that one rather iconic catch by Evans, but also he was drilled by Keanu Neal. I still remember that. Actually, my buddy immediately told me that as soon as he came out with the news. So I was like, oh, wow. Now I remember him. But yeah, talk to me. How do you feel about this?
Yeah, I mean, I'm hoping, and I'm pretty. Yeah, I'm with you. He's going to be a safety. There's no way they put him at linebacker. They have, they run the 3-4, and they've got David and White and Minter just kind of locking down the three middle linebacker positions. So I just see him as a great depth piece, a great safety. He can back up Logan Ryan, or maybe he can start alongside Logan Ryan if they want to put one of them, in the nickel. I don't know. It gives them just more options than they had before. He's definitely an upgrade over Andrew Adams. Andrew Adams seemed like a good dude. He was a hard worker, but Keanu Neal was a first-round pick. He's a Pro Bowler. I mean, he had some really good years, really productive years with the Falcons. And then the Cowboys, for some reason, tried to turn him into a 4-3 linebacker for whatever reason. I just did not understand that move last season. But clearly the Bucs think they've got something, and I think they do too. I'm pretty excited to see how it works out.
Yeah, I think that his move to linebacker was rather just underwhelming.
Yeah.
Yeah, and just on top of that, you just said it right now. It's just kind of adding more, depth, and if anything, and it's looking kind of good now. When I first got the news, I was like, all right, Keanu Neal, safety, is with the Bucs now, and I'm like, ooh, okay, safety. All right, I'm interested in this. So did a little bit of my research, immediately kind of looked up, all right, is how valuable this guy was, how important was this? I was like, all right, this is neat, because now I'm thinking, all right, we got Logan Ryan, we picked him up as well. He's a hard hitter. When he's healthy, Carter, he's a hard hitter. He's got some big highlights for sure. He's aggressive. He's out there. And again, I think that his experience is valuable for sure. My only hope is I just hope that everything goes well. injuries wise, and just kind of doesn't turn into a Richard Sherman kind of situation. Fingers crossed for that. But that's kind of really about it for me. I'm just kind of excited to see how he fits in with our unit over there on the Bucs. And I don't know, anything else, Carter?
Nah, yeah, you said it all. I mean, just we'll see how it fits for sure. He seems like he's going to work out pretty well.
Yeah, and what's been working out pretty well is the Super Bowl champion Blaine Gabbert returns. Yes, sir, Carter. You best believe that Blaine Gabbert is back, Carter. Listeners, Blaine Gabbert is back. The United States of America, Blaine Gabbert is back. So, I mean, how do you feel about that? I feel like we've had some mixed feelings. For me, I mean, I'm gonna keep it real with you, Carter. I've had up and downs just based on the situation or whatever. Because sometimes you're thinking, oh, if Brady gets hurt, this is our guy, and then when he finally comes in, you're like, okay, well, let's see what he can do. Sometimes he can kind of deliver, but then again, I mean, the guy barely plays at all either. But this was definitely someone everyone was thinking about big time before Brady said he's back, just because it was Trask and him, and it was an interesting quarterback room for sure. But Carter, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, like you said, he's not Tom Brady. He is not, Lamar Jackson, Patrick Mahomes, Josh Allen. He is not. But, as backups go, you could do worse. He's got some experience. He brings just more of the same for the Bucs. He's a good guy to put in the second half when the Bucs are destroying the Bears 35-3 at halftime. Which hopefully they'll be doing a lot of blowouts this year, especially against the Panthers and the Falcons, who they get to play 4 times. But we'll see. It's just it's more of the same. There aren't really any better backup options out there. So he's an okay guy.
That's the same way I feel. I don't know. I mean, I'm like, all right, this was like, all right, sweet, awesome. The guy's back. I feel like he's kind of just more of an icon more than anything.
Right.
He's like the guy behind Brady, and obviously, I feel like the spotlight was on him for sure, big time before Brady said he was coming back. So, knowing that Brady's back, and then everyone's like, all right, well, this guy's like a nobody, and then this news comes out, and like, all right, hey, sweet, okay, we got the guy now. All right, let's see what happens. Again, the vibe I'm kind of getting overall, Carter, as we've been going on, is just that I feel like we're kind of just, as we say, we're getting our returners. It's kind of nice more than anything, just having familiarity as well.
Mm-hmm.
So it was just kind of my overall feelings. I can't have too many feelings for Blaine Gabbert just because I haven't seen that much from him, and what I have seen, obviously, if we're talking about him being a starter, I would have a lot to say, but obviously, since he's not, Carter, that's all I really have to say. Anything else?
Yeah, I mean, my question for you is, I have an interesting thought. Does this mean that because there was maybe a thought process behind them drafting a quarterback late in the late rounds and making Trask the backup? Now, I think this pretty much shuts the door on them drafting a quarterback at all this year.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
I mean, when we got Trask, we're not gonna waste that, and then we got him, and then obviously, we got Brady. So I think it's locked in, Carter. I don't know, maybe, and then also I'm pretty sure. Correct me if I'm wrong. I think Ryan Griffin's also with us, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yeah. So I don't think. Yeah, we kept all of our guys. Nothing really. No one left. No one came.
For sure.
So that's fine with me. All right, let's see. It's been working out, so that's that's kind of why I'm like, all right, let's run it back.
Oh yeah, why not?
All right, well, we got that out of the way, the whole free agency moves / coaching updates as well. But hey, it's another week to talk about the NFL draft, and this week we're digging into our D line. All right, so we can kind of go over a few guys where we're looking at. First of all, Carter, who's your kind of first round guy? Kind of maybe, if you want, by all means, if you have a few guys in mind, feel free to drop them. But realistically, with the 27th pick, probably going to not be able to, get the first few guys for sure. But anyone else who could maybe possibly be a reach, or you know what, maybe not even a reach. You're like, you know what, this guy fits perfectly based on his draft prediction, and he also fits in with the Buccaneers.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's some guys, like obviously there's those two big dudes out of Georgia that I would love to get, Devontae Wyatt and Jordan Davis, but unfortunately I think that's, they're probably going to be gone by the 27th pick. But if they're not, then shoot, Bucs can snag those guys real quick. But if, assuming that they're both gone, which it looks like they probably will, there are a couple of guys. I think my favorite is definitely Logan Hall out of Houston. 6'6". I mean, the dude's just massive. One of those guys that can just plug some holes. He has some really great hands. He just really bullies offensive linemen. I think the best way to describe him is like if Ryan Jensen was an interior defensive lineman. He kind of has that same kind of attitude, just kind of a lot of grit. I think he would be a great fit in the first round for the Bucs. There's a possibility he could maybe fall to the Bucs in the second round because he's projected more as an early second round or late second round type of guy. But, the Bucs do have a need on the interior defensive lineman. So I think they might reach for a guy like Logan Hall. Yeah, that's my first round guy. What about you, man? What about you?
For me, I mean, when I was thinking about it, yeah, I saw, I've always, especially after that championship game,
Yeah.
that's when I really noticed how massive someone like Jordan Davis was. But I mean, I wasn't like, all right, I mean, you can't sleep on Devontae Wyatt either.
Oh, for sure.
So I saw Jordan Davis, I was like, oh my gosh, that would be a dream come true. But I was like, oh, hey, big guy Devontae Wyatt's up there in the rankings as well. Checked him out, and I was like, wow, this guy is a beast. I think it's going to be more of a reach. He's probably going to be, taken by someone else beforehand because I like him a lot. I think for who he is, I mean, 6'3", big guy, stacks up at 307. All right. In 2021, I mean, him and Jordan Davis were shining big time. All right.
Oh, yeah.
He's pretty darn fast for, his kind of position and for his size. When I was watching his tape as well, he got some quick hands. So, kind of disengaging the blocks and all that as well. So, and I only say that I think because as you were saying, interiors wise, you want a big dude. I think we could use someone who is young and talented. Just because we're looking at the older guys kind of fading away slowly. If anything,
Yeah.
you had Golston and Sue. So I think he can pair up with Vita Vea real well. And this overall kind of keep the whole group kind of fresh in the rotation. Whenever he needs to stick in, he will. But I don't mean, being that he's 6'3", I don't know. Sometimes people have been saying that, obviously something that kind of might be lacking is, his rather limited arm length compared to some other guys. And, sometimes that can be an issue here and there. Sometimes it can stop a few yards or so, during a crucial run or something when you kind of stop the back or even quarterback or so. I don't know. I mean, that's the only weakness I could really think of when I was watching, if anything. But I like the guy a lot, and I do want to add. I mean, before I should have asked this beforehand, Carter, and that was, what's the kind of big thing that you're looking at? Look, we got Joe Tryon last year, in the first round. Is there anything that maybe you were looking at that we're hoping to kind of pick up a certain kind of skill that you're like, hey, hey, Joe Tryon's great, et cetera, but
Right.
I was hoping maybe he could be better at this, or you see what I'm saying?
Absolutely. Yeah, for sure. Kind of because Joe Tryon, he's a monster athletically, but he's still a young rookie. He's still refining his technique as an edge rusher. I'm definitely, the Bucs have had one of the best rush defenses in the NFL for the past decade. Pretty much they've just been dominant in the middle and in the interior, and good teams build from the front back. And the Bucs have done a great job with that, and I think they're going to continue to do a great job with that. And so I'm really looking for a run-stopping guy, just like you said, kind of a guy to eventually replace, Sue or Golston, but much like they were drafting JTS last year to replace JPP, because they haven't re-signed JPP, and I don't know if they will because JTS is looking like he's primed for a breakout season. So yeah, mostly just a run-stopping guy, just a guy to plug the holes and let the elite pass rush of Shaq Barrett and JTS, get to the quarterback, or the elite middle linebackers of David and White get after any running backs in the backfield or what have you. So that's definitely something that I think that the Bucs will be looking for in an interior defensive lineman, and I think it's something that they'll get for sure.
Yeah, I mean, what I'm looking at is just some guy who can just wreak havoc, kind of mess up the O line as well, kind of go on attack on those kind of one-on-one kind of certain situations, which will allow someone like JPP or JTS to kind of take advantage of that. But that's my first rounder. I mean, is there anyone else that maybe you thought of as well in the first round, or we can even transition on to the second round if you got anyone that you think fits well there, or it's hard to predict, Carter, because a lot of things happen here and there. Some guys get chosen earlier, some guys get chosen later. But kind of based on what you've been seeing, what you've been based on your research, who do you think fits well?
Yeah, I mean, like you said, predicting a draft is a crapshoot in almost every sport. It feels like the NFL, you just are kind of throwing darts at best. It's an inexact science, and yeah, I mean, especially with this year's uncertainty with the top pick, the quarterback class. Who knows what teams are going to be looking at a quarterback? But there's still a couple of guys like Travis Jones we hadn't mentioned out of UConn. His skills are definitely as a run stopper, which is what they're looking for. Really solid in the run. He's got some great size. 6'4", 325. Definitely projects as an Ndamukong Suh type of guy. Maybe that's a little bit over exaggerating his skills, but one of just that kind of mold, just as a kind of a run stopper, which is definitely what they're looking for. So if Travis Jones is there, who knows? They might take him as well. He's definitely a solid choice. But yeah, I'm good to transition to the second round as well. The second round's a little bit of a weak spot for the interior defensive line where the Bucs are picking. There's Perrion Winfrey out of Oklahoma, but I don't know. He's more of a third round guy, and yeah, I don't know. I mean, the second round's not a great spot for the Bucs to pick an interior defensive lineman. But if they are going to pick one, Perrion Winfrey's a decent enough choice, I suppose. And you have any thoughts on the second round guys at all?
Well, listen, I agree with you, Carter, on the whole, second round is going to be looking a little interesting because I think this is definitely an important priority. I think we're both we can agree that we're looking for a run stopper. We're looking for a big dude just because we're allowing, someone like JTS to kind of take on over on the outside position. But I don't know. I mean, my guy was going to be Michael Clemens or it was tough between Michael Clemens or Damian Daniels, and I only say that just because I was thinking, maybe hey, Michael Clemens is a big guy. All right, the guy stacks up at 6'5", he's 270. But I mean, I'm not saying that 270 is light or anything, but I'm looking for maybe someone who's kind of more on the kind of size wise or kind of shape wise. I think is what I really mean is someone like Devontae Wyatt or Damian Daniels or even the guys you've been bringing up as well. So. I'm going to start actually leaning a little bit more to Damian Daniels because I do want to say that I think it's important that we kind of prioritize the run defense as well. Interior defensive lineman is definitely something that I was thinking of as well, first of all. So I don't know. I think, kind of just like Devontae Wyatt, same kind of attributes. I have to say, though, this guy's a strong tackler. He doesn't let go for sure. That's what I like a lot. And he's, again, super aggressive, definitely able to kind of clog it up, cause some slowdowns. He's kind of those kind of good on the assists as well. Weakness wise, is kind of just more being aware and all that. I think there was some times where he was able to maybe allow a few yards to happen, and I mean that's just kind of me playing hardball with them and saying, all right, there's going to be times where when the offense needs to get some yards and you have to stop them, and they rack it up. That's kind of a crucial loss right there sometimes. So it's more than anything, I think for all these rookies, what I'm looking for more than anything is just consistency. Size and consistency is the two big things that I'm looking at. But Carter, is anything else maybe attributes wise that you're looking at big time You're looking for someone who can kind of maybe focus on a few things. I mean, look, every single one of these guys brings so much kind of, certain skills. And what I'm really just kind of trying to summarize is I want someone who's able to just kind of slow things down more than anything and be consistent with it based on his size, which is more like a Vita Vea-esque. You see
Right.
see where my head's at?
Yeah, for sure. Unfortunately, I'm not sure if they're going to find another Vita Vea because Vita Vea is an athletic freak. I mean, that guy is huge and he moves so well. I mean, it's kind of insane to watch him just like bull rush centers. Like those are grown men out there that he's just like pushing back. But yeah, I mean, consistency is definitely a great attribute, a great way of putting it because the interior defensive line position can be a very thankless job. You're not exactly racking up sacks. You're not racking up tackles for losses. You're just kind of eating blocks for everyone else to get all the stats. But good interior linemen are always appreciated. They're always paid well because they're important. They're incredibly important, especially in the modern NFL when pass rushing is so key and vital to stopping these high-powered offenses. So, yeah, I mean, consistency, like you said, is a great attribute. Really important, consistent effort. Eating up blocks and just showing up every day. A clean injury history always helps. Especially for bigger guys because they're putting a lot of wear and tear on their bodies, being that huge and having to move that much. It's so. Yeah, consistency is definitely consistency and size, like you said. Those are the two most important attributes that I think an interior lineman can have.
Yeah, it's gonna be. I'm interested to see how the second round turns out if we're gonna do something with the defensive line, just because I think it's something where I think I would be nice maybe to snag in the first round, but I
Right.
mean, it's up to the coaches as well and the rest of the rest of the office to decide who's gonna be best fitting when. But if you don't really have anything else to say, kind of in regards to the second round, maybe in the later rounds, I'm talking like fourth round. Maybe you see any guy maybe being chosen there, and if so, who?
Oh yeah, I'm a huge fan. I think my bold prediction, it's not really that bold, but I think the Bucs would be wise to select two interior linemen in this year's draft. I think they could select one in the first round and the fourth round. And my favorite guy in this whole draft, really, just for based on value and what he brings to the table, is Noah Ellis out of Idaho. He's just huge. I mean, he's pushing 350s, 346, and he's 6'4". Yeah, I mean, he's just a huge guy, and he's really just outstanding in the run. He played, he played in Idaho, so he's not getting a lot of looks, not getting, a huge amount of hype around him, but he's got, he's just such a rare size, and he comes off the ball with a lot better leverage than you'd expect for a guy that size. Looking at his tape, I mean, my goodness. And he covers ground pretty well. He just plays so much better in space than you'd imagine a guy that's 346 pounds. So, he's not going to be quite at Vita Vea's level, but, if they're going to take a swing at a guy to try to find another Vita Vea type of player, he's probably, one of the closer ones in this draft class. And a fourth round pick is still a valuable pick, but it's certainly not a first, a second, or a third. So I think that taking a shot at a guy like this in the fourth round would just be really fun. His poor length definitely scares me a little bit. The length is also another important attribute at this position, as you mentioned earlier. But yeah, I really like Noah Ellis out of Idaho. He's definitely a sleeper for me.
Yeah, Carter, he caught my eye as well based on, when I'm kind of doing my little research and all that, looking up the stats, or at least based on their size. Yeah, 6'4", 350 definitely catches your eye. And then also, yeah, you're like, oh, snap, 6'4", 350. And then you're like, oh, okay. And then Ellis, Idaho. And then as you said, maybe he just wasn't really looked at too much because, Idaho compared to, some other big schools. But this guy is, I could definitely see something working out for him real well. It just makes me think, Carter, the way, where my head's at right now is that I'm thinking, all right, well, it's fourth round. I'm thinking, I don't know. I don't know if we're gonna get two interior defensive linemen. It's possible for sure, but if not, then I'm thinking maybe just another defensive end, maybe just more on the depth end. And I first want to elaborate on Noah Ellis is just that he's again an absolute beast, and just the fact that based on his size, again, 6'4", 350, I was like, you know what, I got to see this myself. So yeah, I watched some of the tape as well, Carter, and more than anything, he's got power. All right, and again, more than anything, he's able to stop it no matter what. Again, big on the assist, but overall tackles as well. And I don't know, yeah, I mean, as you said, he's a sleeper indeed. I think whoever gets him, I think is going to be lucky for sure. It just comes down to the what the office wants, and if not, maybe I'm thinking maybe on the defensive end side. And I only want to say this just because, again, adding to depth. And my guy was actually Justin Foster. Again, he's got some size with them both ends. He's tall, 6'3", 275, big dude. And what I like about this guy is he's a hustle and chase kind of tackler. All right. So that's what kind of caught my eye as well when I was watching his tape was, okay, hey, this guy knows how to run with it. Good on that closing speed as well. And that's kind of just really about it, though. I mean, listen, he still needs to get some experience if he's going to be doing those kind of hustle and chase situations. When it comes to coming, stopping the run game, he's definitely a good role player in that. But when it comes to kind of reading the defense, trying to get some crucial tackles, sometimes he can miss it or whatever. Either that happens a lot, and again, that just comes with experience. But uh, Carter, kind of maybe how sure or kind of how confident are you that perhaps you're gonna rack up two interior defensive linemen in this draft? And yeah, I mean, if so, and why?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not sold on it. I'm not married to the idea. I just like Noah Ellis so much that I hope that they draft him. But obviously, this is a position of great need, and I think the plan that I think the Bucs are going to kind of go to is drafting into going interior line first round and going interior offensive line second rounds. Going on the interior on both sides of the ball with the first two
Mhm.
picks. Um, but there's a lot of other needs. The secondary is still a need. The running back position might be something they want to address. So, going to a defensive lineman might not be the way to go, but I just see, how well teams like the 49ers build their team from the front back, like I always say. And it's just so important to have guys constantly, like you said, in rotation, just keeping the guys fresh because, a good pass rush or a good interior, a good front seven can mask a bad secondary or an average secondary because the 49ers had one of the best defenses in the NFL they have had for a long time, and other than Richard Sherman, who was kind of at the tail end of his career anyways, they haven't really had any tremendous corners, not any earth-shattering safeties or anything. They just have had some great pass rushers and some really good interior linemen. So I don't know. I would love to see the Bucs. At least they're definitely going to draft one, and if they draft two, not saying I told you so, but hey,
You think Noah Ellis is someone who might be, you think he's an actual sleeper? You think anyone else will actually try to snag him earlier on, or do you think he's actually just going to be maybe like a possible fourth, fifth rounder kind of guy? Just because, I mean, yeah, the more you kind of talk about it, the more I think about it. I mean, and this guy is kind of special indeed, just based on what he brings to the table. And I mean, yeah, there's only so much I feel like maybe I've seen or a lot of people have seen. Just the fact that maybe he's from Idaho. I'm not trying to even put Idaho down, but I mean, obviously, it's not one of those popular big football schools like Bama or Georgia or something like that. But I don't know. What do you think of that?
yeah. I mean, like you said, Idaho is just kind of a tough university to talk about in regards to football. They're they're in the Big Sky Conference, which pretty much tells you all you need to know. So it's tough to evaluate guys from smaller schools sometimes. But the Bucs have they drafted Ali Marpet. He was a D3 guy. He retired this
Oh
offseason.
yeah.
So they've taken some chances on much smaller schools, some big time guys out of some smaller schools. So who knows? Yeah, I don't know. I mean, some other every team has access to much deeper scouting databases than obviously the average person does. So I'm sure many other front offices have heard of this guy. The real question is just how much do other teams believe in him? How much do the Bucs believe in him? And I think the 4th round is a pretty solid round to draft him in. I don't think he's a 3rd round guy. He might be an early 4th round guy if a team really, really likes him, or if they really think that the interior line is a big need. But by that point, if his position is a big need, a team likely is going to address it in the earlier rounds rather than the 4th round. So, we'll see. But I really hope he ends up in a Bucs uniform. I think he could be a great fit.
That'd be dope. I think he kind of fits in that little round range as well as what you were saying. Just because, I mean, a lot of other positions that other teams need to prioritize as well in the
Right.
earlier rounds. So, but yeah, I think. Listen, if the Bucks get a shot, and if that's the approach they want to go, is this is something that they'd rather focus on, is getting more on your kind of end, is 2 interior defensive linemen, then I think they should believe in them indeed, Carter. And hey, listeners, also, if you believe in RBLR sports and you love us as well, let me tell you something. All right, liking and subscribing is free. All right, but if you need some new threads, you can support this podcast by heading on over to shop.rblrsports.com. And you can check out all the designs we got for you. All right, we got we got colors of our beloved teams. We got designs honoring our football team, the hockey team, the soccer team, and the baseball team, of course. And let me bless you with a little promo code as well. All right. That's Cannons, CANNONS, for 10% off your order. Ladies and gentlemen, there is a link right in the description as well. So yeah, show us some love. All right. We love it. All right. Carter, anyone else maybe you're thinking in the later rounds that, you're from the top of your head, maybe not, interior defensive lineman, maybe, a defensive end or something like that. I don't know where your head's at with, anyone else that you could possibly think of that could fit in, maybe in the later rounds, maybe someone like, I don't know how someone's going to be as similar to Noah Ellis, but, because after that, I mean, yeah, ain't no guy as big as him in the later rounds the way I see it. But, I mean, you don't have to be big and amazing. There's a bunch of other guys indeed for sure. So where your head's at?
Yeah, I mean, there's a few other guys later in the rounds. Otito Ogbonnoya out of UCLA. He started a lot of games in college, has a lot of experience. He just played in the Pac-12, which is not quite the Big Sky Conference, but it's definitely a bit of a tough thing to project. And he's a high ceiling guy. He's young. He's going to just turn 22 when the season begins. So, he's got a lot of upside, but a low floor. And, that's the type of guy that the Bucs maybe take a chance on extremely later in the draft. But, when you're contending for a Super Bowl, a project is not exactly the type of player that you want to maybe take in the earlier rounds. So he would be a good guy to maybe take a flyer on in the 5th or the 6th round if they wanted to trade up out of their 7th round, one of their 7th round picks, or maybe the Bucs trade back. Maybe they get their 4th round pick and they're like, we don't really see anyone we love. We'd rather trade back and get some more draft capital, and maybe take a guy like him. So yeah, how about you? You got any sleepers at the end of the draft maybe that you see going off the board for the Bucs?
Yeah, if anything, I'm kind of looking more again on the interior defensive line. If at this point, if we're in the later rounds and we're thinking, all right, we've got our other guys as well. At this point, it's just like let's just see who are kind of some sleepers. I don't know how much of a big sleeper he is, but I will have to say Tyler Johnson, defensive line from Arizona State. He's an absolute beast. All right, I think that when I was watching him, I was saying, "Oh wow!" I mean, this guy's all over. For his size, great footwork. If anything, that's probably the biggest strength. The way I see it is that he's. I mean, I'm not gonna say he's flashy because he's not like a running back or wide receiver or someone like that, but he's quick on his feet. Kind of he's pretty good on reading the offense. And I just want to see how that kind of works out in the in the NFL. It's going to be a whole different experience. So, these kind of guys, I guess maybe you put them later on just because I feel like maybe people are a little bit more iffy on, how kind of trustworthy is this guy? Can this guy really fit that well? I guess we'll all really have to find out when it comes to those kind of things when we snag a player. But I don't know. I mean, yeah, he's kind of my if anything, kind of last guy in the later rounds, and I only say that just because that's kind of just what he's been predicted on.
Right.
But I see kind of being possible. I see it can happen just because we've had so many kind of success stories from small schools as well. Or I mean, I'm not going to say Arizona State's a small school, but I want to say maybe a guy who's kind of been put in the later round. So I don't know. That's really about it, though, Carter, for me. More than anything, I think this is something, listen, it's number 2 for a reason on our priority list, Carter. This is something we're going to have to prioritize for sure. But by all means, I think more than anything, I'm kind of more on the lines with you, Carter, on this one. I have to say, with the later rounds, and that's Noah Ellis. I just like the guy just because you're making me more excited about him more than anything. Just because I mean the dude's big. He's a big dude. And again, I've never really thought of it, snagging. Or I mean, a lot of people don't think, oh, Idaho is a good football school. They got some key players or something. From the top of my head, I can't think of any successful NFL player from Idaho. I don't know. Can you?
No. I cannot think
No,
of it.
listen. I'm sure there are some real phenomenal NFL players, but it's just like any star or anything like that or whatever. From the top of my head, I'm like, I don't, no, I don't think anyone from Idaho. But again, I feel bad for any Idaho fans out there listening to this or anyone who attended the University of Idaho. I hate to put you down like that. I don't mean to at all. It's just that maybe the draft predictors or all these experts just don't see it like that. But all the best, and I hope that the Bucs snag him. Indeed, that would be real cool as well.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
I think I'm gonna run with that. Like once the later rounds come, Carter, I think I'll be watching that. Where is this guy gonna be going? Whatever. It's 4th round. If anything, I'm thinking about maybe some other positions as well by that time as well. But I'll have my eye on him for sure, Carter. Thank you for thank you for inspiring us all. For telling us about an unsung hero. That's what I'll call him, an unsung hero.
Well, look, I'll just say this. I hope Noah Ellis or his agent is listening to this podcast and hires me as their PR guy because I just did some PR for him.
For
but
real.
that's the beauty of doing this draft stuff. You find a lot of hidden gems, a lot of guys that were really successful in college, and you just really, they seem like good guys, and you just hope for the best for them. You just hope they have some successful careers like the guy you mentioned, Tyler Johnson. I mean, he was a great player at ASU. I mean, I think he won Pac-12 Defensive Lineman of the Year or something like that. Although he'd have to, the Bucs have another Tyler Johnson already on their roster, so that would certainly be interesting to see how that played out. But yeah, there are just a lot of really talented individuals that don't get a lot of recognition just because maybe there's a bias, maybe it's their size, maybe it's the school they attended, whatever the reason may be. So it's always really fun to delve into these kind of lower late round guys just to because they had some incredible careers at the college level. Otherwise they wouldn't be getting talked about getting drafted at all.
Exactly. As you said, it's kind of like things like, oh, maybe they didn't go to like a super big school or whatever like that. But I'm also kind of thinking about, listen, it's always going to happen. It happens every year. There's a lot of players that get chosen later on. They start shining. I mean, biggest example I think we can all think of is Tom Brady. Snagged from the 6th round. So I mean, that's crazy. I mean, listen, I'm not going to say that every single guy later on, whatever position they play, is going to become phenomenal, and every single phenomenal player from all those positions have come from the past. But it's going to happen. I think that more than anything, it gives these kind of guys more motivation. That snap, okay, I haven't been chosen yet. Okay, it's like one of the later rounds. Snap, the Super Bowl champions, or not the current ones, but last year's Super Bowl champions, the Buccaneers, with Brady, have chosen me. I think that's going to be firing me up if I'm any of these guys. So that's kind of where my head's at with any of these guys in the later rounds. But honestly, like my guy is probably going to have to be more than anything Devontae Wyatt. I really do think that he's a possible reach, but kind of seeing how he performed as well with Jordan Davis, the whole D line was looking real good against Bama. The whole time, and I feel like all eyes are always on Jordan Davis just because I mean the guy's a bust, all right, but you can't be sleeping on Devontae Wyatt either, and I think I think that'd be nice to snag him. But that's kind of just where my head's at with this draft. I'm really looking forward to it, just because we have a few positions. But I have to say as well, Carter, with all these things kind of changing, week by week. For example, we just snagged Keanu Neal, the safety. I feel like that kind of changes a little bit with our safety prioritization. When it comes to the draft as well, and any returner, anyone we pick up, kind of just during the off season as a free agent. That's always good news for us. But it changes the draft situation. So listen, week by week we're getting closer. But is there anything maybe you're thinking that saying, okay, maybe this is a position, or maybe if here I'll say it like this: we're not talking about D line now. Maybe some other position. Okay. That you're thinking, all right, maybe some things might change. Maybe ideally, more than draft, we're looking at maybe signing a free agent during the offseason. Best example would be the quarterback situation before Brady came back, but obviously he's back, and that's out of the room for sure. But something like that, maybe for another position, or no?
Yeah, I mean it's a great question because free agency's still going. Like there's still a lot of really talented guys out there. I mean, the signing of Keanu Neal obviously takes the Bucs out of the running for this guy, but Tyrann Mathieu, the Honey Badger, he's still available. Guys of that caliber are still out there. Odell Beckham Jr. Obviously, the Bucs wide receiver room is incredibly crowded as it is, so they're not going to sign another wide receiver. But there's still some quality guys out there. Gronk is still unsigned. There's still some questions. Gronk is still not committed to coming back. So if he doesn't, that's a big deal. They might want to start looking at the tight end position, because the tight end position is incredibly important for the NFL, or for Tom Brady rather. Well, the NFL in general, but especially Tom Brady, because he had that great chemistry with with Gronk. And yeah, I don't know. I mean, if Gronk doesn't come back, that's a huge loss. And I don't know. There's still some solid guys out there. I mean, unfortunately, the tight end position seemed to be a very hot commodity in free agency. They got off the board quick. OJ Howard, Zach Ertz have already been signed. But yeah, I mean, the tight end position is definitely one to look at. The cornerback position, I think, is a huge one. Unfortunately, with that position, it's similar to the tight end position. There's not a lot out there, but Josh Norman's still out there. He's a solid veteran that they could bring back to the Bucs, or bring to the Bucs rather. Yeah, I mean, the interior offensive line as well. Yeah, I mean, there's still a lot of positions that need to be filled, a lot of roster spots that need to be filled for sure.
Yeah, I mean, I think maybe the vibe I'm getting, Carter, is just that the approach is more along the lines of just adding more depth, and that's kind of just where my head's at, is just adding more depth with the off season, and then kind of saying, all right, listen, this is what these guys that we pick up during the off season, bring to the table. This is maybe what we're kind of looking at in the draft. But also, I mean, we're already kind of getting later in the offseason. I feel like all the kind of little steals or whatever, those are already kind of taken by every single team. Now it's kind of just, who the remaining players slash, those who are remaining, I'm not saying are not irrelevant at all. I mean, now we got people like Beckham, Matthew as well, who are available. But then it just comes down to the whole front office situation with the money and all of that. And I'll let, someone else worry about that. But that's kind of just where my head's at. All right, I'm thinking, all right, well, we just want to maybe play a little bit more safe, as you say, Carter. Insurance policy, kind of getting more insurance policy more than anything during this off season. But we'll see how it kind of works out. Just because I wouldn't be surprised if we do make some other moves immediately. You do have to think about Carter, though. I mean, yeah, JPP and Sue, both no news out. Sue's been dropping some hints. But again, I mean, there's only so much I can take out of that. I don't know. Have you heard anything other than him? I think it was like, he gave a big shout out to, Coach Bowles for, the promotion. And I believe in his tweet, I can't just kind of reiterate it word for word from the top of my head, but I remember he was kind of giving a vibe like, hey, proud of you, or I don't know, something like maybe like, running back one more year or whatever. I don't know. Have you done any other like updates with that?
Not really. Like you mentioned, the tweet was really kind of, flirtatious, if you want to call it that. He called the Bucs still a crazy talented team, I believe. So that's encouraging for sure. And with the Gronk situation, it seems like if he does return, it's only going to be the Bucs. There's no way he plays for anybody else. But yeah, Sue tweeting that is incredibly encouraging because I think him coming back would be really great because he can because I think Vita Vea's development. Obviously, Vita Vea is a tremendous talent, and he has worked harder than almost anyone on that team to become what the caliber player that he has become. But I think he has a lot to thank Ndamukong Suh for because I think Sue has been a great teacher, a great mentor, and I think he would be tremendous for whatever interior lineman the Bucs bring in through the draft, just to kind of show them the ropes, give them a little crash course on what it means to be a member of one of the best, rush defenses in the NFL. So, yeah, I mean, the Sue update is definitely encouraging. I'm hoping that Gronk, comes around at some point because it would certainly be tremendous to have him back. I would hate for the Bucs to have to settle for signing, Jimmy Graham or Eric Ebron. Not that those aren't fine players, but it'd be a definite downgrade from going to Gronk to that. That's all.
Oh, for sure. I mean, and then yeah, as well. I mean, I would rather prefer familiarity as well. And
Oh yeah.
I like Gronk. I mean, yeah, he's done real well. And I don't know. I mean, the vibe that I get is, if he's gonna be back, he's gonna be back with the Bucks. I don't know how enthusiastic he would be about going somewhere else unless I don't know he gets some crazy, crazy money or whatever. But
Right.
I don't know. I don't know. Maybe that's kind of just really up to him. But that's kind of just what I had overall with whatever we have left with our off-season free agency situation in regards to the draft. Card, I do kind of want to give I mean, yeah, I can give you the update as well, but to our listeners, just something maybe to think about that obviously kind of popped in my head as I'm just checking, being the Buccaneers fan, that I'm checking kind of Buck updates. Little update obviously with the whole Coach Bowles situation as well. The Buccaneers off-season program is going to actually begin April 11th. All right. And, I was like, all right, sounds good. But, out of curiosity, the more and more in time I'm spending being a Buccaneers fan, I'm trying to learn everything about it. And, I didn't really know exactly specifically what goes on during this whole off-season kind of program with workouts and everything like that. So kind of just want to give a little basic gist for all my listeners who aren't aware. So less about a max of 9 weeks, and it's in three phases. First 2 weeks, first phase. They're kind of just more focusing on the strength and conditioning and just the whole kind of rehab work, et cetera, et cetera. And then phase two, next 3 weeks, on field work. More on focusing on just what the game plan is kind of going to be. No specific drills or whatever. That's kind of phase three. Actually, is more all right. The more regular season kind of workouts. Day to day kind of activities. We're pretending like, all right, hey, listen, it's the season. How are we going to be running things? We're doing the workouts and everything like that. Focusing on doing like obviously 11v11, but doing some 7v7 workouts as well. So I don't know. I mean, I don't know how much you knew about that as well, but you ever been to any of those like mini camps? You ever attended any of those workouts, or can you give any insight to our listeners as to how those go?
I can't say that I have. Yeah, I mean, I've definitely heard stories about, especially, I do not envy them having to deal with this Florida heat because, once the dog days of August, it starts in June and May, really. But, man, those, yeah, those 2 days, the daily practices, oh, God, I mean, just having to operate in that heat, it is definitely not a fun thing. But I'd imagine, especially with modern day medicine and modern day practices, they're incredibly conscious of player health, hydration and all that good stuff. But I'm excited to see, how Todd Bowles operates the practices, how he operates drills, if he changes very much, because, when you promote from within, he's been participating in these practices for the past, 2 or 3 years, just like everyone else has. So I'd imagine it's a lot of just the same type of things, maybe with slight variations if Todd Bowles thinks, something needed to be changed, or maybe, they changed something to, move or bring along some of the new faces that they're bringing in. So yeah, I'm interested to see how this offseason goes, how the first, first few training sessions go. It's definitely some, good things to see for sure.
Absolutely, I'm right there with you. If anything, I feel like maybe where he's going to be a little bit more trying to maybe force his, or not force his approach, but maybe try some new things. And this is the perfect time to do so. More than anything, is to allow these kind of moments or this kind of training camp or whatever to take advantage of. How can I take it? Use of the day by day kind of situations, the operations, the practices, the training, and all that, and talk to the rest of the team. I think this is a good time for him to kind of get this promotion as well. This fits perfectly. We've already made like a lot of moves. We're getting closer and closer to the draft as well, so now he can obviously think about that more as well. But it's interesting to see that obviously a promotion within is real cool, real neat. And being that we are a real good team, and I feel like we've always had a lot of love for Coach Bowles. So the fact that he got promoted, I feel like has made us all excited. I feel like maybe just the big question is just saying how much is this going to be of him controlling more the defense than the offense. I feel like maybe because this promotes this within Carter, I feel like he maybe want to, like, obviously he's going to be the head coach and obviously make the big calls or whatever, but he maybe actually maybe allow these guys to have more responsibility. I mean, he already has familiarity with Casey Rogers and Larry Foote, so I feel like that familiarity maybe allow him to say, you know what, hey guys, I'm gonna maybe work a little bit more on the offense now that I have more trust in you. But I don't know, maybe do you think differently, or do you think it's going to be the other way?
It's a good question. It's certainly going to be interesting to see how it plays out. I don't know. I think he sticks with the defense. Defense, obviously, he's a defensive coordinator. That's his bread and butter. And I think that a big part of Bruce Arians feeling, ready to retire was knowing that the Bucs have such great leadership on both sides of the ball. And I think that him promoting Todd Bowles was more of saying, hey, I trust Todd Bowles to know that Byron Leftwich is fantastic at what he does. Tom Brady's obviously one of the greatest football minds of all time. There's not going to be a lot that he has. I don't want to say he's just going to sit there and say, hey, you guys do whatever you want offensively. But, there's going to be an aspect of that. He's definitely going to, and I think he's totally fine with that. A lot of people bring up how poorly he did in New York with the Jets, but my counter argument to that is, well, did he have Tom Brady in New York? He was playing against Tom Brady. That's a tough thing. So I don't know. I'm really excited that they decided to go with a local hire, like a promoting from within kind of thing, because I just think it was just the perfect fit. Obviously, Bruce Arians being gone, we're going to miss him, looking at him going crazy on the sidelines every week. But yeah, I think he's going to be a great fit, and I think he'll definitely know when to push the throttle and when to, let the offensive gurus, do their thing.
Yeah, I was just gonna say. I mean, yeah, I think the leadership wise on the offense, I think he's gonna be like, all right, I trust Leftwich, but as well, we got a little bit of extra leadership more than other teams because our quarterback is a special leader. He's the GOAT indeed, so I think that also adds on to the equation. But I don't know. That's all I really kind of have to say overall with that as well. Is let's see what kind of goes on with that. Let's see if there's any kind of big updates as to how the players are doing in regards to training camp, but also seeing as well with what kind of off-season moves we're making. Carter, do you have any kind of overall final thoughts with everything? How does it kind of draft? We're getting closer and closer with this, Carter, and that kind of just makes me more excited, obviously, because we're getting farther away from the end of the playoffs, and we're getting closer to the start of a next year, the new season. First being obviously the draft. So, anything?
Nah, man, I'm really excited for this year's draft. It's definitely a weird draft, but that makes it way more fun. So yeah, it's interesting. We're gonna see how this offseason continues to play out, and we're always 1 week closer to it being football season again. So that's really all I got.
Right on. And I'm right there with you. Listen, dude, this 2022 offseason, Carter, has been kind of looking real strange. As I said before last week, it was kind of like, it was like, hey, yo, 2020, 21, like, hold my beer. man, let's make some crazy moves all around the league going on. It ain't just us, from our division rivals to all around, AFC, NFC, everywhere. So, that just makes everything interesting, and it just makes me think that, we ought to be all in a treat for the NFL draft. That ought to be fun. But what's also fun, or I hope was fun, was listening to this episode. Listeners, we can't possibly end this without saying thank you to all y'all. If you enjoyed this episode and you like to help support the podcast, please share it with others. Post it on social media, leave a rating or a review. And hey, to catch all the latest, you can follow us on Instagram, Twitter at RBLR Sports. All right. So listen, we hope you enjoyed our deep dive in all things Buck related with the draft and other offseason kind of moves. And look, there's always something to look forward to here at RBLR, but there's always something to look forward to when it comes to being a Buck fan as well. A lot going on, and that just makes me ecstatic about the draft, the preseason, and the regular season. So listeners, stay fired up, get them jerseys ready. Rack up all the apparel, whether it be on shop.rblrsports.com, the Buccaneers website, anywhere, all right? Maybe your local mall. It don't matter, all right? We're getting closer and closer. Get excited, get fired up. We are in for a treat. Seriously, I mean it. And that being said, thanks again. And as always, go Bucs.
Thank you for tuning into this presentation by RBLR Sports. On your way out of the stadium, please remember to like and subscribe.